السلام عليكم جميعا، أهلا بكم في الويبينار مع المهندس أسامة. بنحييكم كلنا، والمهندس أسامة هيبقى معاكم دلوقتي خلال دقايق. الويبينار بتاعنا النهاردة عن Renewable Energy Sources تحت إشراف ال IEEE Egyptian Section. معاكم مهندس أحمد كأورجنايزر ومودريتور إن شاء الله، معانا المهندس أسامة. إن شاء الله ممكن نبدأ باشمهندس أسامة بإذن الله، ولو في حد هيحضر معانا تاني إن شاء الله إحنا معانا وقت بإذن الله. اتفضل يا باشمهندس أسامة، شكرا على إن إحنا يعني انتظرنا شوية كده، معلش. أشكرك يا باشمهندس، ونتفضل إن شاء الله.
العفو يا باشمهندس، والله أنا شرفتونا جميعا بالحضور، وإن شاء الله يكون سيمينار مثمر إن شاء الله. ممكن بس حضرتك تديني سكرين شير؟
تمام، حاضر، لحظة واحدة وهدي لك السكرين شير، هيبقى الهوست معاك لحظة. تمام يا باشمهندس أسامة، كده مع حضرتك السكرين شير.
كده واضح البرزنتيشن، واضح السلايدز.
تمام يا باشمهندس، تمام زي الفل.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم. Hello everyone, and welcome again to the webinar. And I would like to thank Engineer Ahmed Ismail and IEEE Egyptian section for giving us this honor and pleasure having this short presentation about renewable energy sources. This is Osama Azzam. I'm Senior Mechanical Engineer at Faqih Care, a major healthcare provider in Saudi Arabia. I'm also ASHRE Chapter Sustainability Chair, member of Board of Governors, and ASHRE Chapter Secretary of Saudi Arabia. I'm also certified from ASHRE in Healthcare Facility Design, High Performance Building Design. I'm a lead AP and well AP. Thank you all for your attendance and wish you a helpful and enjoying time. Renewable energy sources are around us everywhere, every time. Whether knowing them or no, noticing them or no, using them or no, they are there. The amount of this available energy is unbelievably enormous. For example, the solar energy, or in other words, the energy that arrives to Earth from the sun, even if we use 5% of this energy, it's more than 50 times of our requirement. Solar energy received over the plant surface varies according to the season, latitude, transparency of the atmosphere, and the aspect or ground slope. Where we are actually now in renewable energy generation and harvesting, why we should do more, that's what we will talk about in this presentation. First of all, let's talk about energy. Energy is the capacity of doing work. It takes several forms that may be transformed from one into another, such as thermal, mechanical, electrical, and chemical. We need energy to live. Plants need energy to live. Animals do too. Without energy, there won't be lighting, no heat for cooking, no heat for warming, no transportation, no manufacturing, no internet, no webinars too. Our life won't exist without energy. It's basic, simple. What are the major sources of energy in our modern life? Certainly, they are fossil fuels. Almost 84.3% of our global energy consumptions come from fossil fuels, such as oil, coal, and gas. 4.3% comes from nuclear plants, while only 11.4% comes from renewable energies. Sadly indeed, how unsustainable human being became. Non-renewable energies or dirty energy includes fossil fuels such as oil, gas, and coal. Non-renewable sources of energy are only available in limited amounts and take a long time to replenish. When we pump gas at the station, we are using the finite source refined from crude oil that's been around since prehistoric times. When we cook using gas, we are using the finite source of energy, Most of our factories and power plants are using some type of fossil fuel, which are finite sources. Do you know how many years of fossil fuel reserves inside Earth left? Actually, we have for coal 114 years, for oil only 50 years, and for natural gas it's only 53 years, reported as the reserve to product ratio, which measures the number of years of production left based on known reserves and annual production levels in 2015. Note that these values can change with time based on the discovery of new reserves and changing in the annual production. Imagine that after 50 years from now, you may not see gas station to refill your car. If we keep our consumption as of today, we may increase the consumption. Also, we may find another reserves. This graph shows the relation between reserve and resources, and also to consider a resource as a reserve, it shall be feasible of economic recovery. The consumption of fossil fuel has increased dramatically during the last century, obviously due to the Industrial Revolution. Our consumption of fuel gases has increased nearly 7 times since 1950 only. This is really a huge change, from almost 20,000 terawatt per hour in 1950 to 100,000 terawatt hour in 2019. Compared to other energy sources, we can find that renewables has a small fraction of the total. Do you feel any curious about the harmful effects of this enormous consumption of fossil fuels? In addition to the air, water, and land pollution caused by the burning of fossil fuels, and the harmful health effects also, the consumption of non-renewable energy sources is associated with greenhouse gas emissions, which in fact warm the air by absorbing energy and slowing the rate at which the energy escapes to space. They act like a blanket insulating the Earth. Different greenhouse gas can have different effects on the Earth's warming and climate change. Climate change is a change in the usual weather found in a place. This could be a change in how much rain a place usually gets in a year, or it could be a change in a place's usual temperature for a month or a season. Climate change is also a change in Earth's climate. This could be a change in Earth's usual temperature, or it could be a change in where rain and snow usually fall on Earth. Weather can change in just a few hours. Climate takes hundreds or even millions of years to change. This is the major difference between weather and climate. If you may be enjoying a sunny day in a garden or in a park, suddenly it gets cloudy, then it rains. This is weather. But the climate takes hundreds or million years to change. Earth's climate is always changing. There have been times when Earth's climate has been warmer than it's now. There have been times when it has been cooler. These times can last thousands or millions of years. People who study Earth see that Earth's climate is getting warmer. Earth's temperature has gone up about a couple of degrees Fahrenheit in the last 100 years. This may not seem like much, but small change in Earth's temperature can have big effects. Some effects are already happening. Warming of Earth's climate has caused some snow and ice to melt. The warming also has caused oceans to rise, and it has changed the timing of when certain plants grow. So the Earth's average temperature has increased about a couple of degrees Fahrenheit during the 20th century. What's a big deal? 2 degrees may sound like a small amount, but it's an unusual event in our planet's recent history. Earth's climate record, preserved in 3 rings, ice cores and coral reefs, show that global average temperature is stable over a long period of time. Furthermore, small changes in temperature correspond to enormous change in the environment. For example, at the end of last ice age, when the Northeast United States was covered by more than 3,000 feet of ice, average temperature were only 5 to 9 degrees cooler than today. Imagine 5 to 9 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than today, and the northeast of the United States were covered by ice. Although during the last 50 years, a lot of agreements, acts, and calls existed to encourage the world taking care of environment, actual actions still needs to be increased. Greenhouse gases are the gases who trap heat in the atmosphere. Some examples of them are carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and fluorinated gases. This chart demonstrates the percentage of each greenhouse gas emissions, which clearly shows that carbon dioxide has got the biggest contribution. Actually, global carbon emissions from fossil fuels has significantly increased since the beginning of the 20th century. Only since 1970s, CO2 emissions have increased by about 90%. In 50 years, has increased by 90%, with emissions from fossil fuels, combustion, and industrial processes contributing about 78% of the total greenhouse gas emissions from 1970s to 2011. This brings us to the action needed to be taken by us. It is offsetting the use of these dirty energy sources by the renewable energy sources. Renewable energy sources, that the energy that comes from natural sources or processes that are constantly replenished. For example, sunlight keeps shining, wind keep blowing, even if their availability depends on time and weather. While renewable energy is often thought of as a new technology, harvesting natural power has long been used for heating, transportation, lighting, cooking, and more. From the prehistoric period, the human being has been using the sun by means or another. Wind has powered boats to sail the seas, and windmills are being used to grind grains. The sun has provided warmth during the day and helped kindle fires to last into the evening. But over the past 500 years, humans increasingly turn to cheaper, dirtier energy sources, such as coal and gas. Why we should turn to the renewable energies? They are unlimited because less carbon emissions. They are available everywhere because we care about climate change and ozone depletion, because we care about our health, because we are sustainable. Environmental and economical benefits of using renewable energies include the generating energy that produces no energy greenhouse gases emissions from fossil fuels and reduces some types of air pollution, diversifying energy supply and reducing dependence on imported fuels, creating economic development and jobs in manufacturing, installation, and more. Energy producers can dramatically reduce their carbon footprint by generating electricity from clean, renewable sources. The most common renewable power technologies include solar, including photovoltaic and solar thermal, wind, biogas, geothermal gas or water, biomass, low-impact hydroelectricity, and emerging technologies like wave and tidal power. Shown in this graph is the change in renewable energy generation relative to the previous year, measured in terawatt hours. This is the sum of energy from hydropower, solar, wind, geothermal, wave tidal, and bioenergy. From the year of 1960 to 2019, which definitely indicates an increase in the generation efforts, but is it compared to the increase in the fossil fuels? I believe that we still need to do a better job. Now that we have increasingly innovative and less expensive ways to capture and retain wind and solar energy, renewables are becoming a more important power sources. The expansion in renewables is also happening at scales large and small, from rooftop solar panels on homes that can sell power back to the grid, to a giant offshore wind farms. Even some entire rural communities rely on renewable energy for heating and lighting. This graph shows the worldwide increase in investing in the renewable energy technologies from $50 billion in 2004 to somewhere near $300 billion in 2019. This chart shows the investment in renewable energy by technology, which shows an increasing trend in the investment in solar power generation in the last 2 decades. Global investment in renewable energy technologies measured in US dollars per year. What are the major known types of energy that are renewable? Definitely there's solar energy, wind energy, hydroelectric power, biomass energy, and geothermal energy. This graph shows the generated energy from the main renewable sources. As we can see, hydropower is the highest, which reached 4,300 terawatt hour in 2020. Comes next wind, which reached 1,700 terawatt hour in 2020, followed by the solar energy, which is less than 1,000 terawatt hour in 2020. Hydropower is the major source of renewable energy in our life now. Let's talk about solar energy. Sun is the most generous renewable energy source ever. The amount of energy received on Earth by sun is unbelievably large. According to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, more energy from the sun falls on Earth in 1 hour. It's more than the used by everyone in the world in 1 year. Today, we use the sun's rays in many ways to heat homes, businesses, to warm water, and for power devices. This graph shows the electricity generation from solar, measured in terawatt hours per year from the beginning of 21st century. Solar power generation has increased more than 20 times during the last decade, from almost 25 terawatt hour in 2010 to almost 1,000 terawatt hour in 2020. This graph shows the annual change in solar energy generation, which indicates that there is a year-by-year incremental increase in the change of solar energy generation, shown in the change in solar energy generation relative to the previous year, measured in terawatt hours. The first type of cells used for solar power harvesting is photovoltaic cells. Photovoltaic cells that are made from silicon or other photosensitive materials that transforms sunlight directly into electricity. The typical solar power plant includes solar panels, conjunction boxes, inverters, AC collector, distribution boards, transformers, meters, then to the grid. For storing the energy at night, we have to use batteries. And this is the major challenge in this technology. Batteries technology are not very developed. They cost a lot of money and their life is not so long. Solar farms can generate power for thousands of homes using large number of solar cells. The largest solar power plant in the world now is the Badla Solar Park in India. It's built on 14,000 acres. The fully operational power plant has been installed with a capacity of 2,250 megawatts. The second type of the solar power plants, the concentrating solar power, CSP. Plants use mirrors to concentrate the sun's energy to drive traditional steam turbines or engines that create electricity. The thermal energy concentrated in a concentrating solar power plant can be stored and used to produce electricity when it's needed, day or night, and it doesn't need batteries. The biggest completed concentrated solar power plant is Noor plant located in Morocco with capacity of 510 megawatts hour. Also, worth noting that Dubai has started construction on what is to be the largest concentrated solar power plant in the world. A report from Arab News stated that the plant will have an estimated capacity of 700 megawatts and a power storage system that will keep the lights of Dubai shining for up to 15 hours after sunset. The project will compromise the world's tallest solar tower of 260 meters, and it's said to be as tall as Emirates Tower in Dubai. The solar power plant will cover a piece of land equivalent to 4,500 football fields. The third type of solar power plants is the parabolic trough system. It uses curved mirrors to focus the sun energy onto a receiver tube that runs down the center of the trough. Inside the receiver tube, a high temperature heat transfer fluid, such as synthetic oil, absorbs the heat energy, reaching temperature of 750 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, and passes through a heat exchanger to heat water and produce steam. The steam drives a conventional steam turbine power system to generate electricity. A typical solar collector field contains 100 of parallel rows of troughs connected as a series of loops, which are placed on a north-south axis so the trough can track the sun from east to west. These troughs can rotate around its center, and it will track the sun from the sunrise to the sunset. Individual collectors modules are typically 15 to 20 feet tall and 300 to 400 feet long. This type of plants can be combined with a conventional gas generation plants. Similar to our station in Egypt, Al-Quraimite hybrid plant, located almost 100 kilometers south Cairo, which has 150 megawatt hour total capacity, with 60 megawatt hours of them from the parabolic trough system. We have come a long way from old-fashioned windmills today. Turbines as tall as skyscrapers, with turbines nearly as wide in diameter, stand at attention around the world. This is the new wind energy generation plants. Wind turbines work on a simple principle. Instead of using electricity to make wind, like a fan, wind turbines use wind to make electricity. Wind turns the propeller-like blades of a turbine around a rotor, which spins a generator, which generates electricity. Wind is a form of solar energy. It's a different form of solar energy caused by a combination of three concurrent events: the sun unevenly heating the atmosphere, irregularities of Earth's surface, and the rotation of Earth. This graph shows the wind power generation around the world. Annual electricity generation from wind is measured in terawatt hours per year. This includes both onshore and offshore wind sources. It's clear for all of us that there's a tangible increase in production during the last 2 decades, beginning from the 21st century. In this graph, we can see that the annual change in wind energy generation has an increasing trend, which gives us more hope and focus and hard working to keep things up. Gwen wind power base is the world's biggest wind farm with a planned installed capacity of 20 gigawatt, also known as Ganzhou Wind Farm. It will feature 7,000 wind turbines installed in China. The project is being implemented as part of renewable energy law announced in February 2005, setting out to achieve 200 gigawatt of installed wind capacity in the country. Now let's talk about hydroelectric power. Hydroelectric power is the largest renewable energy source of electricity now, though wind energy is soon expected to take over the lead due to the large investment in wind energies. Hydropower relies on water, typically fast-moving water in a large river or rapidly descending water from a high point, and converts the force of that water into electricity by spinning a generator's turbine blades. Large hydroelectric plants or mega dams are often considered to be non-renewable energy. Mega dams divert and reduce natural flows, restricting access for animal and human populations that rely on rivers. Small hydroelectric plants and installed capacity below 40 megawatts, carefully managed, don't tend to cause as much environmental damage as they divert only a fraction of flow. In this graph, we can see hydropower generation measured in terawatt hours. In a glance, we can see that hydropower generation is the oldest and the trend to increase is not very high. Almost 100% increase during the last 4 decades. Yet, it's the highest generated renewable energy till date. And it is above 4,000 terawatt hour per year. But the trend of increasing is very low. It's not compared to some solar power or the wind power. Continuing to our observation in the previous curve, shown in this graph is the percentage change in hydropower generation relative to the previous year, and we can clearly see a fluctuation and non-increasing trend in this technology due to the limited number of potential waterfalls and big rivers, unlike solar or wind, which found everywhere. 3 Georges Dam in China, the world's largest hydroelectric facility. In 2012, the 3 Georges Dam in China took over the first spot of the largest hydroelectric dam in electricity production. The 3 Georges Dam has a generating capacity of 22,500 megawatts hour of energy. The height of 3 Georges Dam is about 600 feet, 180 meters, and the length is about 8,000 feet. The dam creates the 3 gorges reservoirs, which has a surface area of about 400 square miles, or 1,000 square kilometers, and extends upstream from the dam out 600 kilometers. Thank you all for your attendance and listening to our today's webinar, and we hope it was fruitful, and we hope that we could explain even a little bit of our global energy situation. Let's do more for our planet, and our new generation. Remember, refuse what you do not need, reduce what you consume, reuse what you have, recycle what you never need. Be sustainable, be green. شكرا لكم جميعا. شكرا مهندس احمد.
شكرا باشمهندس أسامة. ممكن فعلا please let's receive any question. Is there any question please? طيب شكرا باشمهندس أسامة. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. Thank you for our attendees, for our participants. We was glad with this presentation. It was wonderful. لو في أي أسئلة من الزملاء.
شكرا مهندس احمد، شكرا لكم جميعا على الحضور.
شكرا باشمهندس أسامة، شكرا جدا، مجهود أكثر من رائع. أشكرك. كل سنة وانتم طيبين جميعا. شكرا لكم على حضوركم. أستأذنكم بس هنبعت الإيميلات بتاعتنا الجماعة، يعني الناس اللي حضرت معانا هتبعت إيميل. هنبعت لحظة واحدة بس، هنكتب الإيميل بتاعنا علشان الناس اللي حضرت هتكتب تبعت لنا إيميل إن هي حضرت. أشكركم جميعا، كل سنة وأنتم طيبين. بس هستأذنكم ناخد صورة لو سمحتم، يعني يا ريت ما نخرجش قبل ما ناخد صورة كده لينا كلنا. أستأذنك باشمهندس أسامة، إحنا عايزين نوضح. ممكن تديني بس الشير علشان أجيب أو خلاص مش مشكلة. لا أشكرك. خلاص هي معايا كده. خلاص أنا هاخد سكرين شوت على كده. أستأذنك لحظة واحدة. استأذنكم لو في حد ممكن يفتح الكاميرا، لو في حد من الزملاء حابب يفتح الكاميرا علشان هناخد الصورة ديت وهننزلها على الموقع الاي تريبل اي. او لو ما حدش حابب يعني وحابب الصورة بتاعته تفضل زي ما هي، اوكي مفيش مشكلة. أشكركم جميعا، كل سنة وأنتم طيبين. رمضان كريم. شكرا لحضوركم، شكرا باشمهندس أسامة للمجهود العظيم دوت. نشوفكم إن شاء الله في ويبينار جديد. لو في أي أسئلة تقدروا تبعتوها لنا هنرد عليها حتى في الويبينار القادم إن شاء الله. المهندس أسامة معانا إن شاء الله، ممكن برضو يعني يتجاوب أو يتفاعل مع الأسئلة. Thanks so much. We are glad to to see you so much. See you. بس please send me the emails on my email, please. I put my email. It's e_ageaismn@yahoo.com. انا ممكن اكتبه تاني، بس ابعتوا لي الايميلات بتاعتكم بس على الايميل علشان لو في participant certification، وان شاء الله نبعتها لكم على الايميلات. بس ابعتوا لي على الايميل بتاعي، انا هكتبه مرة تانية. أشكركم وأشوفكم على خير إن شاء الله، وشكرا باشمهندس أسامة، وكل سنة وأنتم طيبين، رمضان كريم. السلام عليكم يا جماعة.